Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo Sports Center. I am Don, and today we are going to be discussing what we have seen throughout the first couple of days of the Buffalo Bills 2024 training camp. But before I get to all of those observations, make sure to hit that like button and to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, join the Discord. All three of those links are down in the description box below. Now, let's talk about the new identity that's being forged for the Buffalo Bills at this year's training camp. It's been interesting to watch. It just doesn't it feel like, folks, that there's a new, renewed, refreshed sort of feel and vibe to this team. It doesn't feel as tense as it was at last year's training camp. I remember last year at training camp, there was all this Stephon Diggs talk, championship talk, expectations talk. And don't get me wrong, there are still expectations for this team. It just, with a lot of those old veterans, those characters, a lot of that baggage is now out of Buffalo, namely Stephon Diggs, and it feels like this is a new, fun, younger, hipper, cooler team again. It's like the team that came into the 2019-2020 season, okay? Like that sort of feel. Very optimistic, very new, a renewed hope almost. And it all starts with Josh Allen, of course. Josh Allen is leading this new rebuilt offense, folks, and he's got basically a brand new wide receiver core with Khalil Shakir returning, Justin Shorter returning. But that's about it. Second round pick, Keon Coleman is looking fantastic, by the way. Throughout the first couple of days of not only rookie minicamp, but training camp, Keon Coleman looks years beyond his current age, his actual age. He looks like a veteran in the NFL, and it's spectacular. He's making a lot of highlight reel end zone grabs, and the chemistry between Keon Coleman and Josh Allen is already off the charts, and I'm loving every single video of it. I love watching these training camp videos of, these guys making spectacular grabs. It's amazing because you almost never see it actually happen in the regular season. Yes, I'm a tortured soul. Yes, I'm a Bills fan. Let's keep going down the list. Marquez Valdes-Scantling brought in from Kansas City. He's also in that brand new wide receiver room. KJ Hamler was brought in via free agency. Chase Claypool is an interesting story here because Claypool has performed well in all the OTAs, the now training camp. It sounds like he's also been doing a nice job carving out a role for himself and impact, because we all know the wide receiver room is going to be very, very competitive this year, even though it's not really a lot of bigger names. It's not as high-end as in years past for Josh Allen. It's going to be just as competitive as ever for each of these guys to earn a spot onto this roster. And I haven't even talked about Curtis Samuel, who is going to have a very unique role in this year's offense. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady has come out and said that Curtis Samuel is going to be deployed almost as a running back, wide receiver, hybrid sort of player. He's going to be playing both positions. And his best comp, I would say right now, is the Deebo Samuel of the 49ers. Obviously, nowhere close to as talented as Deebo, but that same sort of role. And this new identity that I talked about earlier also features into the offense, of course, because the offense is going to be faster, quicker, smaller, more dynamic, more versatile, and they're going to be relying not so much on these chunk plays, these hero ball plays from Allen to Diggs or Allen to Gabe Davis. No, instead it's going to be Allen to Khalil Shakir for 20 yards and then 40 yards after catch. Or a Keon Coleman, maybe 30-yard snag to score a touchdown. It's going to be a lot shorter, a lot more condensed, but that's good because then it can open up over the top for Josh Allen to make his huge bomb throws to guys like MVS, or if Justin Shorter makes the team, could be him too, or Chase Claypool. So it's an interesting new dynamic that the Bills have in that wide receiver core. And I haven't even talked about the tight ends. So while the tight ends have remained virtually unchanged, I think we're going to see more of Dalton Kincaid, of course, next season. Dawson Knox, I'm sure that contract is something that Brandon Beane is very much regretting right now because Kincaid has already surpassed Dawson Knox on this roster. I think Kincaid's going to have a huge year. He's basically going to be another wide receiver for the Bills, and he's going to add to this new identity of a faster, leaner, quicker, more dynamic offense. And it's something that Joe Brady has done not only at LSU, he did it at Carolina, and now he looks poised to do it in his first full season here in Buffalo. But let's keep on moving, folks. Let's talk about the offensive line now. And there's another interesting dynamic that I do want to talk about on the O-line, and it's some of these veteran depth pieces. I'm talking guys like La'el Collins, who is signed in free agency, previously played for Dallas and Cincinnati, but has had injuries wreck his career so far. So he's more looking like a reclamation project here for the Bills, but currently on the Bills' depth chart, he is lined as a second stringer right behind Spencer Brown at the right tackle position. And then my interesting point here is we got to look at the centers here, folks, because Connor McGovern, he's supposed to be replacing Mitch Morse as the Bills' starting center. That's where he's currently listed right now, and that's where he's been playing. But I would not be surprised if we saw a guy like Cedric Van Pran Granger, the Bills. Well, he was part of the recent draft class of this past offseason. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Van Pran Granger maybe give him a run for his money, give McGovern a run. Because Van Pran Granger in rookie's minicamp was very good. He looked super solid. His tape from college also looks good. He doesn't allow many pressures. He doesn't seem to... He's very poised. That's my point. He's very poised. And that's exactly what the Bills could need after an offseason full of changes and difficulties. Let's continue, folks. Let's shift to the defense, right? And talk about Von Miller, okay? Because Von Miller has received a lot of crap over the past 12 months or so. It's been a rocky year, couple of months. No, it's been a whole year of challenges. Going all the way back to when he suffered a torn ACL back in Detroit on Thanksgiving. He missed the whole last quarter of that season, the 2022 season. He missed an entire offseason. He came back for week 5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars when the Bills were in London. But he didn't really have an impact, didn't really have any field time until, I would say, right after the bye week. Week 12? No, it was week 13. Yeah, it was the Bills' 12th game of the season, though. Week 13 against Kansas City, we started to see Von Miller slowly come out of his shell, slowly getting there. He was starting to disrupt again, especially in the playoffs. I noticed him a couple of times, and I pointed it out. Whenever I was watching the games with my friends, I'd be like, hey, that's a Von Miller impact play right there. I just noticed him. Earlier in the season, before the Bills' bye week, he was nowhere to be found. And from all reports, it appears as though Von Miller may be back. He sounds to be in great shape again. He's finally trusting his knee again, and that was the biggest part. He wasn't trusting himself. He was nervous that that torn ACL would tear itself again, and that's a legitimate concern. And he played scared, and it's pretty obvious when he was playing scared. It was very obvious, actually. It was not... everyone saw it, and, well, hopefully he's grown out of that. He took a massive pay cut this offseason to remain in Buffalo. He believes in winning with this team, and I believe he can. I think he can get back to those 2022 levels that we saw, where for that half a season he was with the Bills. He was very good. He was getting a sack, an impactful play. He was just noticeable, especially in the fourth quarter. And that's where the Bills are going to need him this year. A lot of new faces on defense, and it's going to be important for old veterans like Von Miller to carve out a role and to lead this unit. And speaking of the defense, let's continue moving to the back now and talking about the safeties, because Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are both gone. It appears as though Micah Hyde is not coming back to Buffalo. I mean, he could. He hasn't officially retired or anything. But it's already the beginning of training camp, and I get it. He wouldn't need to play through training camp in order to make this team. But it feels like that door is closing very quickly. Unless a miracle happens 2 weeks before week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think we're going to see Micah Hyde on this team next year. We're definitely not going to see Jordan Poyer, who departed Buffalo for their arch nemesis in the Miami Dolphins. Because, of course you did, Jordan. You really had to do that. You had to go to our biggest rival. But, it's okay. They were two of the best safeties in Bills history. So, when they both left this past offseason, Brandon Beane had a monumental task in replacing them. And I think he did an okay job. He brought in Mike Edwards from the Kansas City Chiefs. He brought in Cole Bishop through the draft. I think he's looking very good. And through the first couple of days of training camp, Taylor Rapp has been running first team at safety. Damar Hamlin has been running first team. And I'm not sure about Hamlin. I thought when he played in 2022 as a starter, he wasn't all that impressive. I get it. Great story and everything, but so far at the NFL level, he's a proven backup, not so much a starter. And then Mike Edwards, of course, he's been looking good. Cam Lewis will be a special teamer. He will stick around for sure. But I'm very interested to see how this new safety unit gels together. What's the best combo? Who's the best duo together? It's going to be very interesting to watch. And I also want to talk about something that's very, I wouldn't say under the radar, but I haven't heard as much noise as I think there should be. And that's about the defensive play caller, because now the Bills actually have a guy with the title of defensive coordinator. Last season, Sean McDermott had head coach and defensive coordinator titles. He called plays for the defense, and I thought it went well, but it was clear that McDermott had too much on his plate at times. I think unloading that defensive play call duties to and now actual defensive coordinator is probably the best move for him. And his defensive coordinator is former defensive backs coach, safeties coach, linebacker coach Bobby Babich. And Bobby Babich has been a really good addition to this coaching staff. Ever since they got him back in 2017, he came in with McDermott. He's been riding up through the sort of coaching staff step ladder there, and now he's the defensive coordinator. And he's been proven at every level. He's got success from the safeties. He's gotten a lot of success most recently from his linebacker core. He turned Terrell Bernard from a no-name mid-round draft pick into an all-pro certified starter. Matt Milano, of course, flourished under Babich, and it's really interesting to see now that he gets the full defense. He gets that new title. He should be getting new defensive play call duties. And it's not totally decided yet. McDermott hasn't committed. He says, oh, don't worry, trust the process, guys. There will be a decision. There is a plan. But I think the plan should be that Babich takes over those duties. He's been in the system forever. He knows the playbook inside and out, I'm sure. He's developed most of these guys as well on this side of the ball. This role fits him like a glove, and it only makes so much sense for Bobby Babich to become the defensive play caller instead of just the defensive coordinator. And I want to close out this video, folks, by talking about Kim Pegula. Yes, Kim Pegula, we haven't seen her in a couple of years. She suffered an unexpected health issue, and as her daughter detailed on social media, those health issues was a cardiac arrest, which then she needed CPR to save her life. She was certified brain dead for a couple of minutes, and she had to be saved by her family. And it was a heartbreaking story. And I think Bills Mafia, whether we realize it or not, we have missed her. We have missed Kim Pegula, and she did make an appearance at training camp on day 2, and she helped break the team huddle, and it was clear she's still in recovery. She did not look like her normal self, but it was very encouraging to see her out on that field. It was a welcome sight because, as far as we all knew, Kim Pegula, we weren't sure if she would ever see the day of light again. We didn't know if this cardiac, I'm not a medical professional. Let me preface that by saying that. But usually when you suffer a heart attack and you lose flow of oxygen to the brain for a couple of minutes, as her daughter said in that social media post, you usually never come back to normal functions, normal capabilities. You never get back to 100%. But to see Kim Pegula even somewhat close to that is a welcome sight. It's a warm sight, and I'm sure the players felt inspired. I know Deion Dawkins called Kim Pegula his mama bear, which is very nice to hear. Deion Dawkins, of course, is a national treasure. We must protect this man at all costs. But it was a nice surprise to see Kim Pegula out on that field. She did go to last year's training camp, although we didn't really get a good sight of her. She stayed in her SUV watching from just behind the end zone there over in Rochester. But I wanted to end off the video on a high note there. Folks, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe before heading on out. I was Don. This is Buffalo SportsCenter. Hope to see all of you in that next video. Peace.